Good morning, Scorp. Good morning. Today is today is Thursday, and I wanted to come up here to talk about the, the prophets of old, the prophets of today, as they would say they are to be, right? So we know that a prophet is a person regarded as an inspired teacher or a proclaimer of the will of God. We also understand that it's a person who advocates or speaks in a visionary way about a belief, new or old, cause or theory. A person who makes claims to be able to make predictions. And some of the examples of said prophets, if we go on to the religious aspects, is people like Muhammad, uh, Jesus, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, Moses, people of that nature. But we gonna appreciate the fact that and acknowledge that if they are prophets, their job was to show a way or to give a vision to the next steps in people's lives going forward. Right? It's not about looking in the past and saying, "Oh, you did this, that, and the third." Okay, Farrah, you can. Yeah, that's one of the new uh people that they are saying is a prophet. Martin Luther King, uh, Malcolm, Marcus Garvey, people of that nature. They feel like they are prophets, right? Here's the things about a prophet, right? And from the very aspect and nature. Miss Chicago, good morning. How are you? Nice to see you, right? When we say prophets, right, we are talking from a spiritual aspect for the most part, right? They're telling you how God is going to do, on what God is paving a way for you to do, right? It is a concern, it is a statement. It is really about a mission of faith, right? And for all of these guys, all of the people that are prophets, that is their status, mission, their mission status, to have faith in whatever they're saying that is being given to them from their higher power unto you, right? But if you look at them very, very carefully, there is nowhere, or I let me say it like this. There is no way that I have seen in my readings, in my learning, in my understanding that a prophet is not supposed to profit. Bronze, good morning. Is to profit in a monetary fashion, right? Let's just take the main characters, right? If you look at Jesus, if you look at Muhammad, if you look at those people, we're not gonna go down the line. We're just gonna go with the people that the religion are said to follow, right? There is not no time in history that they have benefited from their faith with financial gain, right? Because it's an understanding that a prophet is gaining in the abundance of understanding who God is and what God is bringing into their life for people outside of their own view or outside of their spectrum, outside of their surroundings, pretty much. So it's like we have to understand that in the prophet, there is no selfishness as they understand themselves, because God is not a selfish God. That's what they are rolling with. And I understand that and I agree with that. Right? So when we sit there and we see the people in the pulpits, right? And when they're saying things of, stop worrying about the poor will have you always, right? They are saying that the poor are not important. That goes against the absolute standing of a prophet, because the prophets understand that you are not here for those that are wealthy with understanding. They are not here for those who are rich with the riches of the abundance of understanding who God is. They understand that they are not important to those people who already believe that they have already. Their job is to reach the poor. Their job is to reach those that are not spiritual. Those people that don't know how to connect with their souls, right? And as they go about their business on that front, they're going to encounter a lot of naysayers. They're going to encounter a lot of people that's saying, "Oh, there's a catch. What is he in it for? What is she in it for?" Right? Even though people going to say that women are not prophetess, right? I I understand that in life God moves in mysterious ways. God can make a donkey talk, but he can't make a woman be a leader. That's not what's in the book. That's the total opposite, right? Through education in life, a woman can teach anybody how to walk in their faith. So they are a prophetess, even if that's not a title that everyone wants to bestow upon them, right? Some people are prophets, even though that's a title that we are not giving certain people, right? Sometimes your walk could be enough to say, you know what, I see I see the God in you. And it's a beautiful thing to see that, because there's a hope that people need, that God exists. And sometimes God can send somebody into your life to be not a major prophet, not like Moses. He's not going to lead you through to the land of milk and honey, but he can start your mission of faith, right? We have to understand that faith is a prophet's financial reward. We have to understand that the riches that God gave them is the abundance of understanding why they are doing this. There is no monetary value to it. But of course, there are people that claim to be a prophet, that claim to be a priest, even though they're not Levite, but you're teaching people things that can lead them astray from the will of God, and have them look at themselves outwardly instead of inwardly, because everything we all understand is to reach our souls, to reach our spirits. We ought to touch those things in order to become Christ-like, or to become a follower of the will of God, whether it's Allah, whether it's Jesus, whoever you claim it. The point is that there should be no prophet for the prophets that is in the color green, but it should be in the color of love. And because there are so many people that are trying to prophesy something in an abundance of wealth, Riaz, good afternoon. Um, because they are doing that, they may be leading somebody down the wrong path. Why? Because your wealth, my wealth, it all starts within you, right? It starts because we have started with a bankroll of nothing when it comes to your relationship with the creator. I'm gonna just say the creator so I can eliminate certain aspects of who we're talking about. The creator himself, God, uh, Allah, whatever you. I'm gonna eliminate that right now. So when you go about this thing, right, there's a thing that occurs when you start your walk. Something touches you in a spot, in a place that you thought could never be penetrated, right? For example, when Paul was on Damascus, he felt the light of God, and it touched him so much that he had to rename himself because that's a movement, that is an indication that his spirit, his spiritual side has awakened. For most Muslims, right? You know, a converted Muslim in America, they will change their name. I'm gonna just use an example. Bear with me. From John to uh John X, right? Or something to the custom of they're not understanding who they are, and when they get to the destination of knowing who they are, they add to that name, right? So instead of John, so instead of Malcolm X is Malik El Shabazz, right? It goes to that level, right? But the prophet is to pour into you, not with financial being, but the abundance of touching your soul with wisdom and understanding of what it is that God is trying to prepare you for in the coming days of life, right? And why am I talking about this right now, right? Riaz, correct me if I'm wrong, but is tomorrow not the beginning of Ramadan? Right, that's what I'm saying. Tomorrow is is the beginning of Ramadan, if I'm not mistaken. And for Christianity, Christians, Catholics, those that follow Christ, right? Those that follow Christ. Next week is the beginning of Lent, right? Uh, Ash Wednesday is this coming Wednesday, and I don't even know what the point is as far as the clergy of today's society, the pastor or the deacon or the pastor or the bishop or whomever it is, right? For me, it's simple. For me, it's once Lent comes or once Ramadan comes, you should be drawing nigh to God, right? Draw nigh to the Creator. Yeah, okay. Over here, Riaz, that's tomorrow. I know evening is coming for you, so it may start in less than 12 hours for you guys. I'm not too sure, but I'm saying this because there is a reasoning for the season of Ramadan for the Muslims. There is a reasoning for the season of Lent for the followers of Christ. It is to draw nigh to the Creator. You're supposed to become close spiritually, as close as you can get to the Creator that is giving you the reasons to follow these seasons. And it's just sad that a lot of these people behind the pulpit, they only are worried about, you know, the financial part, right? Of keeping said building, keeping the lights on, or however they say it, right? In Christianity, right? They asked the question in Malachi 3:8, will a man rob God? Right? We know that we have fallen short of God's glory because we have sinned, right? But a prophet's supposed to teach you that it's not the sin that's keeping you down. It's how often you are sinning is what's keeping you where you are at that present time. Every day during Ramadan and during the days of the season of Lent, you are supposed to remove said things, right? Shout out to my 33 brother, the word, as we had this conversation, and I'll pick up on this conversation again on Wednesday, right? We have a tendency of worrying about the falling part, right? We fall short, and then we think of the losing aspect of a thing, right? For example, when you fast, you are giving up something, right? Most of us will say we're sacrificing in order to draw nigh to God. I too say that. It's a spiritual number in totality, yes. And that's why we say that, right? That's why that master number, it is concerning spirituality. And that's why I'm having this conversation, because at the end of the day, we are so focused on things that are going on outside of us. Hey, if that's what, if it's gonna, no, not, I can't say Riaz, because in totality, I don't know if you guys, follow or are accustomed to music in Islam. I don't know. You understand what I'm saying? But if that's what you are going to give up, may it get you more focused on what Allah has in store for you. And that's the thing that we have to understand, that a prophet's job is to make you see clearly the way that God, the direction that God has in store for you personally, your people in totality, and we have to stay focused, right? We all know the story of Moses. We understand that he had to remove himself from the bondage of captivity, and had to find their way to be set free spiritually, right? That's the reason why they stayed in the wilderness for so long, because they were so in bondage of things of yesterday, the golden calf, or the worryation of, you know, we're gonna die of thirst crossing the desert, and things of that nature. All because they did not have the faith drawn up to understand that God is going to get you where you need to go. He's going to give you everything that you need. That's why, for me, I often tell people all of the time, you have to understand that you are a storehouse, right? Understand that you're the storehouse. You have to understand that God has given you everything you need in order to go through your trials and tribulations, right? So as they are not understanding that, they're losing. The generations is being lost until the generations that are willing to understand the purpose that God has for them are ready to go forward, right? There's a lot of people that's, they're losing their life, as far as their their fleshly life, in order to draw nigh to God spiritually. So there are going to be people that's going to, all right, I'm no longer an alcoholic. I no longer want to be a drug abuser. I no longer want to do any of those things, because I am drawing nigh to God. And when I'm drawing nigh to God, it's an inside out thing, right? It's from within you that you are drawing closer to whatever God has in store for you. Also, during the fast, remembering to control anger. It's That's what the fast is really about. Everything that you have to control within you, it should be gaining strength as you go through Ramadan. In Riaz's case, it should be that case if you are drawing nigh to Jesus Christ and the Christ-like attributes. We have to understand that those things must occur. We cannot follow the teachings of the new wave pastors that are saying that everything starts from outside in. If we follow that method, we are losing our lives regardless. We are losing outside, and we are losing the spirit and soul that gives us the life that we are seeking to have in the first place. And so when we go through those things, we have to understand that there are people robbing God because they are taking you away from them. Why? Because they're worrying about the tithes of outside and not the tithing that they are pouring into your storehouses. And that's the thing that we must understand. If they're not touching your heart, they're not touching your soul, they're not teaching your mind, they're not trying to connect the mind, the body, and the soul together, then there's only one other answer. You have to do it yourself. I have to do it myself. How do I do that? It's the only way to do that is to go on a spiritual cleansing, a fast, and that's what these seasons are ahead that is coming for us. Ramadan for my Islamic brothers, my Muslim brothers and sisters, and the season of Lent for those that follow Christ, or those that want to be Christ-like. Those are the things that they. But Let me ask you guys this, and those of you that have an answer, you can type it. When these seasons come, do they even talk about fasting? Do they even talking about giving something up for the higher power that you are following? Right? Do they tell you to fast, or do they just touch on it and just leave it where it's at? Right? And that's my main problem with the people of today, these people that are teaching us, and they're not Levites, but it's okay, but you want to teach us things that you're not uh you're not you're not capable to teach, right? Because there's people that are calling themselves pastors and reverends and things of that nature, but are not of the tribe of Levite. So we are accepting these people with the understanding that God is speaking to them, but are they in the position to teach us anything? That's the question that we should look at. This is why we have to understand, and that's my point. So if you know you ain't living right, how do you draw nigh to God? Right? If a prophet, if a prophet is telling you that you aren't living like right, how what is their solution for you to live right? Is it them teaching you? Is it is it them giving you an example, or giving you the tutelage to understand? Listen, go into your secret closet and pray for understanding. How do I get the understanding? Which way am I going? Right? Because we all should be understanding that whatever we are asking the higher power is not just going to give it to us. He is going to he is going to put us into position to see how to gather that strength. If we're looking for peace, he's going to put us in a situation to find said peace and how to hold on to it. Right? It's a reason why Jesus had to go into the wilderness to clear himself from all distractions in order for him to understand what the test is ahead of them, right? We have to understand that even in the fast, even in these upcoming situations, that these things are going to occur, right? But the prophet is supposed to teach us that it starts from within. And it's not about them, it is not about them surviving. Because here's the real truth. If you look at any of the prophets, was they living in abundance of wealth? Right? If you sit down and really observe that truth, right? None of them was in the abundance of wealth, right? Even in the readings that you read, none of them had golden slippers or golden sandals and a golden rod and anything of that nature. When we think about riches, we should be thinking about the riches inside of us. The prophet is supposed to show us that the riches are within us and not outside of us. So there should be no golden calves to be made, right? Because of the said wealth of a thing. The wealth begins inside of us. So if a prophet is telling you otherwise, he's trying to profit for his own benefits. Those are the people that you should not be following. Those are the people that don't care about your soul salvation, right? Seeking, he's seeking who he can devour on the outside instead of trying to save the soul that is within you, right? And that's the thing that we have to understand. That's my point, Scorp. We understand that folks is confused about all of this. And that's where the conversations should begin. This is why we try our best to have comfort zones to have these conversations, right? But the embarrassment of not knowing, you know, a prophet is not teaching us that it's okay not to know. That it should be okay to seek the information that you need for yourself within you instead of looking outside for certain things to occur. Everything starts from within, right? You come, even the beginning of life, it starts within something. For us, it's a womb. For chickens, it's in the egg. For animals, for the most part, it's eggs, right? They come out of eggs and they pop out the egg and they have life. So it has to be something within us that the prophet should be teaching us that is all within us and not worry about monetary gains, right? They have to stop worrying about, well, What do I get out of this? What you get out of this is the satisfaction of the abundance that God has given you. The satisfaction that somebody is willing to seek God with fear and trembling, right? Because they are so worried about getting themselves together that they are able to push these things aside and make their way towards the creator that they are serving. But of course, we are human beings, and sometimes human beings get in the way, even with prophets. The prophets become fleshly instead of spiritually, and they look for the things for their outward benefit instead of your inward benefit. So, Lena, good morning. How you feeling? And those are the things that we have to look at, right? Like I said, we are heading into that season of sacrifice. Well, I'm gonna say sacrificing because that's how most of us benefit the fasting stage. We have to give something up in order to gain something, right? We have to give up a certain thing to show our seriousness towards understanding with the creator, right? And now you have most pastors that are so concerned about themselves, they're not even teaching you how to become serious with yourself inside of you. That's why a lot of the world is sitting there worrying about the mumbo jumbo of what's going on with certain people and not worrying about how they're doing themselves. Right? I'm coming to the conclusion that so many people are losing their lives because the prophets is telling you, or the teachers, I'm saying prophets because that's the title, that they're telling you so much about the outside that you are not feeding your soul with the understanding that it needs to be fed. Your spirit needs to be fed. But they so much teach us about the abundance, right? You're gonna get your wealth, you're gonna get your money, you're gonna get what about the wealth of life? What about the wealth of understanding that things are needed to change within our lives, within us? And things of that nature. Because as long as we keep looking outside, we're killing our spirits more and more every day. Right? We are killing our we are just using our souls for nothing. We may seem to be soulless, right? And that's what a prophet is supposed to do. A prophet is supposed to pour into you the direction that they are receiving from God to where you are going. Um, and that's the thing that we have to understand. Islam was given 1,500 years, then the Judgment Day. Okay, and that and that's why I say, I know that that day is coming for you, Riaz. That you have to go ahead and focus on whatever it is Allah is getting ready to prepare for you. So you have to tune out the outside world to focus on the inside of you and make sure that you have room to receive what Allah has for you. And just like for the followers of Christ, they have to remove themselves from the outside world and prepare themselves for whatever the season of let has for them. That is what a prophet is supposed to be teaching us. But from what I'm understanding and what I am viewing and what I am hearing and what, of course, in totality observing, they're not talking about, you know, the 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 season of pouring in. They're worried about the abundance of wealth. They're worrying about things outside. God is not an outside creature. God is not an outside entity. What do I mean by that? If you understand that God has already poured into you, you should understand that you have to touch that in order to activate what's already inside of you. That is what the prophets are supposed to be telling us. Hey, touch whatever gift that God has in store for you. But of course, they're so busy worrying about the financial parts of things and what they can gain. They are becoming selfish. And if we truly believe that God is a selfless God and He works in the charity of love, realize what's going on. That is not God's end goal for you to worry about what's going on outside of you. You are supposed to do things out of love. Even if you give a tithe, you're supposed to be a cheerful giver. Even if you give offering, it should be a cheerful thing, and that is a thing that's inside of you. But of course, the a, a false prophet, a false teacher is going to tell you that no, you're supposed to give because that is what God told you. God told you to be a cheerful giver. So if you are to give somebody your heart is supposed to be is because you have an understanding of that person wanting that for to be that person for you, right? I care about people because that is something that I was told to do, right? So I care about the well-being of Realist. I care about the well-being of Selena. I care about the well-being of Riaz, right? And if I don't have that, how close to God am I really? Am I really? You see what I'm saying? I'm not going to sit there and say, well, Realist, what's going on? Hey, drop me a super chat. That's not what this thing about. This thing is about the fact that if you're going to be the example that God is placing in front of people, you have to walk in his ways, in his image, in his likeness. Stop worrying about the financial gains. You got these big time teachers who calls themselves prophets. They worrying about jets, but right around the airport, there are people that's hungry. But you don't get to the poor because you're gonna tell people the poor you have always. You're gonna misinterpret what Jesus meant by the poor you have always. He's telling you that there's gonna be poor people. That's why he came. He came to search for the poor, the sick, right? You're not going to be received by those that understand your job because they don't want you to do that job. And that's the thing. That's the thing that the prophets have to understand. The prophets got to pour within each and every one of us. Don't pour outside of us. Pour in us. You got to make us a new creature in order to receive what God has in store for us. And that is where you know these seasons are coming into, right? So sometimes we have to take it upon ourselves. Sometimes we have to understand because we got these false prophets that are only looking for profit in as far as finances, that they're not worried about our soul salvation, right? They're not fearing us. They're not fearing the fact that they're leading us down a rabbit hole instead of to holy ground and holy waters and holy places. They're not worried about that because they are false prophets. They are not living in the God attribute. They're only worried about keeping lights on and making sure that their well-being is taken care of. You have a congregation of people, but you only worrying about if they're putting their 10% in, or if they're giving enough offerings that you got to have 2 or 3 offering calls. That's not what this thing is about. See, when you understand that this is a real thing for people that are seeking their soul salvation, you can't keep talking about pouring outside of them. You must pour inside of them. But when the prophet is only looking for their own profits, they don't give, I could say it, they don't give a damn about what you're going through, right? You can go to your local church right now and say, hey, I just lost my home. Will they be able to provide a place for you to stay? So what about all the tithing that you've given? What about all the offering that you've given? Everybody's not going through the hardship of losing their home, but you should be able to have evidence that, hey, we put this person up because they are going through the thing. And when you do that, you can see that that prophet is is in fellowship with the creator that they claim they were supposed to be with. But when they're only looking for their own profits, you're not going to see all of that. How many of these mega churches are doing food drives with this inflation going on? You know what I mean? But they only want you to worry about your tithe and offering, but they want you to take food from your children and not return it back to them, not to return it to you 100-fold, as they say. They're going to tell you God is going to do it. So where is their faith if they don't have enough? One offering should be enough. One tithing call should be enough, right? When you have that, when you have touched these people that you are prophesying to, they're going to understand that you are truly a servant of the Creator God, and you should not be looking for the profit of of wealth, but the profit of the abundance that God has given you. So I pray and implore people that are getting ready to take the step. Like I said, for Riaz, I believe Ramadan is tomorrow. For others, the followers of Christ, I believe that is March 5th, which is Ash Wednesday. That will be the 40-day season of Lent. I implore you guys to truly seek the things that you need to pour into your spirits, to pour into your soul, and not look to the prophet that only is worried about your financial situations, because that is not a godlike attribute. That is leading you to still waters, and we need, and when we understand who God really is, He's an ever flowing God. He should be flowing within you on a consistent level. But if that prophet that claims to be in touch with God is not flowing within you, then he's not the place for you to be, or she is not the place for you to be. It's time for you to separate yourselves and not look for the prophet that is looking for their own profit, right? Because it's not about you. When you follow the attributes that God has given you, you should be more selfless. So teaching should be not a concern for you, right? It should be more of a gift, a blessing that you become to others. You should not be looking for people to bless you, because if you truly believe that you are a prophet, you should understand that God is going to provide for you, right? If Daniel was that way, he would have made it out the fiery furnace. If Daniel was that way, he wouldn't have made it out that lion's den. If Moses was that way, he would not have been able to cross the sea, the Red Sea. You understand? And if Jesus was that way, he would not be the crucified person that we are saying that he is, because there is a selfless act that all prophets must produce in order for you to understand who or what they are going for, right? The pastor's supposed to give you the shirt off their back. The pastor's supposed to give you the, even if it's using the pew for you to go to sleep on. There should be a trust that is occurring between that that prophet and that God to say, you know what, we can leave this person right here. He's in good hands with you. Go ahead and do what you need to do for said person. But when they're not offering, hey, here's $100. I know you and your family are struggling. Instead of them taking your $100 and telling you to tithe because you made $1,000 that week and you're gonna come up short. Pastor, I'm coming up short. I need a couple of dollars. Well, I can't help. That's not a profit, right? That's a because you only profiting for yourself. You can't worry about your light bill when somebody's gonna be put out of a house. That is not a Christ-like attribute. That is not a God-like attribute. If you are being told that God is a selfless creator, then why would you be selfish and talk about you working in God's image? That's impossible to do. But because there's so many prophets that are working for profit, there's so many people that are so selfish that they're only worried about themselves and not their congregation or their constituents, or even more so, a fellow man, right? If you see a pastor walk past a person and say, "Nah, they good," if they walk past a homeless person, they ain't good, that should be a red flag. There's no pastor, no prophet that should be walking around somebody that doesn't have. You ain't even stopped to pray for the person. You're not a prophet at all. You're profiting for yourself. And that's something that you should not be doing. But for us, the people that are not, who are seeking and trying to learn and trying to gain the understanding of what God has for us, you have to understand, if your prophet is looking for profits, then he's not the place. That is not the place for you. If he's not trying to help you reach your soul salvation with fear and trembling, that's not a place for you. And that's the thing that I truly want people to understand. I truly hope and pray that these upcoming days that you are preparing yourselves for the fast in true sincerity, right? Like I said, for Riaz, he may be having Ramadan. He said he might have to give up music. If that's what gets you closer to God, then you do what you have to do, right? And last year I did the 40-day situation as far as Lent, by leaving verses of the things that you have to do in order to draw nigh to God. I'm not saying that I'm a prophet. I'm not saying that by any stretch of the imagination. I'm saying that when you are seeking God, you have to become selfless. When you are doing God's will, you have to be selfless. You can't worry about what the next person is going to say about you, how they gonna react to what you're doing. I don't. For me, I can't worry about that, because if I truly care and love the individuals that I am speaking to, whether it's on this app, whether it's in real life, whether it's a person that that you pray for because they living in a tent, or whatever the situation is, if I am doing the right thing, I have to speak to them outside of myself. My own well-being cannot be a concern if I pray for somebody, right? So if a prophet is doing the opposite of what I just said, then he is profiting for profits, right? Not to say that they're in. I'm not saying they're in the witchcraft. I'm saying they're not in the will of understanding that to help others is the abundance that God has in store for a lot of us, right? Because he's going to make sure that we're okay, right? But if a prophet is doing the opposite of that, then I can't truly believe that he's a prophet of God, because he is profiting from the title of being a prophet. And those are the things that we should not be living by. Those are the things that we should not be doing. I come on here to offer my time. My offering is to sit there and say, if you need my assistance, if you need me to lean on, you need me to talk, I am available. That is my offering to you guys. I don't think that's a selfish act. I think that's selfless, because there may be one or two people that may want to get something off their chest and may feel comfortable in having that conversation with somebody. That is what a prophet is supposed to do. You're supposed to receive what they have and then translate it into something that God has in store for that person, right? There's no monetary gain. There should be no monetary gain for that, because your reward is that they take the steps that you use and they gain from it. And when they gain from it, you gain from it. That's why when Word would say something like a better you is a better us, that's the attribute that I truly understand. Because if I tell you, you know what, realist, keep going with the things that you're doing, and it's going to multiply in your favor. I don't get nothing out of that. You do. I get the satisfaction that it actually happens. It's not because I was right. It's because what was said to you was right. I don't get no profit out of that. You see what I'm saying? I'm like I said, I'm not saying I'm a prophet, but that's the way a prophet should be going about, right? If you are willing to help somebody, that's not calling you a prophet. But if you're doing it for the right reasons, the benefit is for them to receive it, and for you to be happy and satisfied that they received it and they are getting the things that they want in life. Like I want young Riaz to grow, in his faith. I want everybody to grow into their faith. If I'm not helping that person get to that point of growing in their faith, then why am I doing this? How could I say I love God and I'm serving myself? And that's what a lot of these people are doing. They say they love God, but they serve themselves. You serve God, then yourself. If there's a pecking order, God should be first, right? If you are spiritual, you should be seeking the creator. Then whatever happens outside of that, it should be a benefit, not a mishap, for the most part, because you are going to fall short. Of course, there's going to be days that you're not going to be able to do it. That's the battle within you. But when a prophet tell you that no, there's not going to be no shortcoming, everything's going to be all right, that's not of God. Because every time you draw near to God, there will be trials and tribulation. There will be a test for your testimony to be substantiated. And if a prophet is not telling you that, then he's in it for their own profit, or she is in it, excuse me, for their own well-being. And that's not a thing that we should be looking forward to when we are seeking God and he is presenting these people in front of us. But in order for you to understand if that person is for you, you must try the spirit and see if the spirit is of God. So if you don't know how to try it, you don't know how to try a prophet, you won't know if the prophet is just profiting off of your downfall, or is he going to profit because you're succeeding, right? That's the reward that a prophet should be getting. That's the profit that a pastor should be getting. They want to call themselves pastors. They should understand that you are now teaching and prophesying in people's life. So the benefit of what you're supposed to be doing is for them to pour into their souls and spirits, for them to be a better version of themselves in the attributes of God and not of man. So stop. They should not be looking for, well, we know you work at this job, and they shouldn't be counting your pockets. They should be counting the blessings that you get. And that's what a true prophet will be doing. He will be counting the blessings that you are getting instead of counting the financial rewards of what's pouring out of you, out of your efforts in your everyday life. So, I just wanted to come up here and have that conversation. I truly believe that was needed because we are now heading towards the day of of reflecting or drawing nigh to God, right? And like I said, I want the best for everybody. If they're going to do that, I implore people to do this just to see how close you are to higher power that He has. How much of God do you really know is within you? That's the whole purpose of the fast. Because God is like I told you before, God is giving you everything you need. So you're not going to worry about if you are giving something up, right? You're going to look for the reward that is drawing closer to God. But that, like I said, I'll speak more on that on Wednesday. We're not going to look for the sacrifice. We're not going to look at the sacrifice. We're going to look at the investment that we're doing, and I'll break that down uh Wednesday a little bit more because when that was revealed to me, it was like, wait, so all of this time I'm looking at it wrong, but I was still gaining from it. But I just looked at the losses instead of the gain, right? And if that's what a prophet is teaching you, then we are all in a world of trouble because he's only looking for a profit and not for your profits of your soul and salvation. So that's the thing that I wanted to have to talk about today. Uh, I don't think anybody has any questions or anything like that. If I'm wrong, you know, if I'm wrong, I got to deal with that, and that's just the truth of the matter. But when I understand that I'm not doing this for a selfish reason, and I know that I'm doing this out of humility and a selfless act. If I got to deal with that, I got to deal with that. I'll take the fall for it. You understand? Because I truly believe I had this conversation. BDB, what up, nine? And that's what I'm saying. When you go about these situations, now that these days are drawing closer for 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 my Muslim brothers and sisters, like I said, that may start at tomorrow's sundown, or it might start as early as 12 a.m. for a lot of them, right? As they go into their season of Ramadan. They understand what they have to do. But if they don't have the leadership to help them get through it, then they may feel defeated before they even go in and start the situation. And that's the thing that we have to worry about. We have to make sure that these prophets that they are truly of God. But if you don't know how to try the spirit to see if the spirit is of God, you may be taken advantage of because the prophet only wants to profit for themselves and not for you. And when you profit for yourself, it only could be a financial thing because prophets should not be seeking your soul unless they're working for the entity that is not of God. See what I'm saying? And that's the thing that like I said, I think we need to focus more on that going forward, especially like I said, these days are coming to where people are going to be walking around with crosses on their foreheads, the Catholics and things like that. And that's not what. Okay, so what are you giving up? What are you willing to lose in order to gain favor into God, right? The priests are supposed to tell you, like, you're supposed to gain something. They're supposed to give you something to strengthen yourself for these walks ahead. And if they're not doing that, they're not worried about your soul salvation. And that's against their total calling in the first place. They only profit in it because there are people paying them to do so. And if, like I said, the reward is supposed to be you coming up, you being satisfied spiritually, you being receptive of what God has for you. That's what the prophets are supposed to be telling you. That's what the priests are supposed to be telling you. But because they are misconstrued the words and made a prophet a priest, that's supposed to be their only job, is to make sure that your soul is is ready to receive what God has in in store for you. And if they're not doing that, then they're only profiting. They're profiting for their own benefits and not for your riches of abundance that God truly wants you to have to become a better version of yourself. So, guys, I truly appreciate you guys coming through. Uh, I will be back Wednesday with the title of Don't Worry About the Sacrifice. Don't look at it. Don't look at the sacrifice. Look at the investment. I will break that down Wednesday because, like I said, for most of us, we were told that we should be sacrificing to be closer to God. But I'm going to go into detail with that because it was revealed to me how if we look at it one way, we will stunt our growth in another. So until Wednesday, guys, I truly appreciate you coming through. I hope this was something that was meaningful, and that it was something that was understood for you to go forward. For those of you that are getting ready to start Ramadan, I truly pray that you are receiving of what Allah is about to present into your life. And on Wednesday, I will talk to those that are following the Christian aspect of Lent. Until then, guys, I'll see you Wednesday. I'm out. I appreciate everybody stopping by.